Welcome to the next episode of the Kerfuffle. Today I have an amazing guest with an amazing story. Her name is Karen Millie-James, and she is one of our family members from across the pond. Welcome to the show, Karen.
Hi, pleased to be speaking to you finally after last week.
Oh, yeah, last week was a nightmare. So just for our fans out there, we were shooting the podcast last week, and when we got onto the show, Karen had some technical difficulties, which we eventually overcame. And then all of a sudden, we're in the middle of the show, and boom, the power went out. So we had to rearrange it today, and we want to thank Karen for opening her schedule today to come back on the show.
That's my pleasure. It's lovely. We were doing so well, but it was a good dress rehearsal.
That's right. That's right. So, Karen, do you want to tell the fans a little bit about yourself?
Right. Well, I'm Karen Millie-James. I'm a businesswoman. I've been international business consultant for, well, I'll give my age away, but a long time, about 30, 40 years maybe. And I started writing thrillers about 7 or 8 years ago, which has become my absolute passion. And I've written 3 books, which the first 2 are being republished next month, and the third one will be out as well. So it's very exciting. I've got a new publishing deal with Vinci Books, who are based in the UK, but they're an international firm of publishing firm. So yeah, it's really exciting. Good things ahead, hopefully.
So let's talk a little bit about your past and where you came from. Now, your father has a very interesting story that would make an amazing book. You want to tell us a little bit about your dad?
Yeah, well, my dad arrived here in 1939 from Berlin. He was part of the Kindertransport, which I'm sure everybody has heard about. But he was smuggled out of Germany via Sweden and then came to the UK. And he was on his own. He was 12 years old. And he didn't see any of his family again. They all died in the camps in Auschwitz.
Oh, wow. And what happened to your dad when he came to the United Kingdom?
Well, obviously he didn't have anybody. They put all the kids that were with him into a boarding school in Surrey, and he stayed there. By all accounts, because I've got all his papers, he wasn't treated very well. I think there was a lot of anti-Semitism still, even towards the children when they arrived in the UK. And when he was about 15, I think he went up to, he was fostered out to a family in Birmingham, and again, treated really badly. I think they thought he was some sort of, I don't know if you can call this for a male, but a young skivvy. Do you understand that term? That he was made to do things around, well, it's probably an English term, but he was made to do things around the house and work within the house. And anyway, he eventually managed to leave there, and he went into the British Army. And he was in the intelligence corps, and he went into Germany after the war to help capture some of the escaped Nazis. And we've got all his army records and all his letters, etc. For many years, we used to get a Christmas card from the intelligence corps, but that stopped when my mum passed away. But yeah, interesting backstory.
So, how long was your father in the British Army for?
A few years, I think. Yeah, a few years. But, you know, and when he died, I mean, he died at the age of 39. He was very young. So to have gone through all that and still die young, I mean, you know, there were 4 of us all under 12. And I didn't know he was German until he passed away, and we found all the records. And he did an awful lot for charity. He was the chairman of the British Legion. Do you know about that?
No. What is that?
Well, the British Legion is all ex-servicemen and women who, not just in the wars, but after that, who've come out the who've come out and they're doing a lot of charity work, etc. He was also the chairman of AJAX, which is the Association of Jewish Ex-Servicemen. And we used to do a lot of, used to help a lot with all the veterans and go and visit some of the hospitals where people were rehabilitating because they'd lost limbs or whatever. So he did an awful lot. And I remember as a child going with him to some of these events, making sandwiches for 200 vets, because we did a big gala type, well, not gala, probably a luncheon for everybody. So he was very, was very well thought of in the charity world. Yes. So, very proud of him for what he did, actually.
You should be. I mean, that's an amazing story that, would be great to be put to pen to paper and get out there, because as we move forward in time, we have less and less of those men and women that served in the Second World War.
Yeah, we do.
Very few. And we also have very, very few people now that have even survived the Holocaust. Even if they were an infant, they're in their 80s now, and they may not even have any recollection of it, memory of it.
But some of them are much older than in their 80s. Now, for my second book, which is called Where in the Dark, I wrote about, it was based on a Nazi who'd escaped to America, of all places, and bought into a bank and was defrauding the bank. And he was, it starts with 2 Holocaust survivors receiving bearer bonds in the post for $1 million. They don't know where it's come from. But there's a relationship. There's something between the 2 gentlemen who are now in their 80s and this Nazi. And I wanted to, it was really, I don't think it's just me, but you question how it was allowed to happen. You question what was really behind everything that Hitler did. And it was all economy, but he needed a scapegoat, so he blamed the Jewish people. It's my opinion. I mean, but it is historically factual as well. And I wanted to get behind the thinking about it all. And I actually interviewed 2 Holocaust survivors who have actually passed away since. And they gave me some amazing stories about what went on. Amazing stories. And have you ever heard of sorry, I don't know if we wanted to get into this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Have you heard about the Hitler's Titanic?
No.
Nobody has. No. So by the end of the war, when the Germans were losing, he still wanted to have one final annihilation of the Jewish people. So he got thousands out of the camps and he marched them to the coast with the intention of putting them on the ship, 2 ships, taking them out to sea and bombing them so everybody would drown. But one of these gentlemen that I interviewed was part of that. But when they got to the coast, I'm not sure if it was the Americans or the British came over and bombed the ships that they were about to go on. And it's not well known in historical terms. I don't think much has been written about it.
No, I've never heard of it.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, I hadn't before then. And there were some other stories, as well that they told me. And I've tried to incorporate some of those in my book. But mainly I wanted to look at the psychology behind the people that did this. Whether, and the question whether someone is born evil, inherently evil, or whether circumstances make them that way. So, I interviewed a lot of psychologists. I do a huge amount of research for my books. So I need to get it right, And as you can see behind me, I'm a book person.
I was going to say there's a lot behind you,
Oh, yeah, and it extends that way. So, it's really, books have always been my world. I just always read. Yeah.
So what do you think the psychology of it is behind, and what have you gained by your research and stuff?
What have I gained by my research? I I do actually believe that some people are born like that. I think they have it in them. I really do, because you do, a friend of mine is a criminal psychologist. So I interviewed her, and she's done a lot of research into that, as obviously more than I have. But you hear these children who murder other young children, 11-year-olds, 10-year-olds. Now, where does that come from? It's not that they've grown up and all of a sudden, well, let's murder someone. I mean, in simplistic terms, but they must have something going on. There must be something in their chemistry, in their genes that make them that way. I mean, it's not, you don't just go out and murder someone. It's that's what I believe. And my character in the book, the Nazi, he's dying, and he wants to seek forgiveness from God. So he goes to a Catholic church, and he tries to get redemption for his sins from this young priest. But of course, nobody can give him redemption. Nobody on earth can give him redemption. So I looked in the religious aspect, I looked in the moral aspects, and, I think I've done a good job, and I've tried to be slightly objective as well. Doesn't always work, because obviously it's very close to my heart, close to home. But yeah.
I had long for years, and one day I will put pen to paper. I wanted to write a book and call it Jungle Grunt, and it was going to be about my father in Vietnam, and he had served in the Gulf Company, 2nd Battalion, 7th Marines in 1969 in South Vietnam, wounded 3 times, and his Marine Corps company in Vietnam had the highest casualties of any Marine Corps rifle company during that war. And there's a monument.
How old was he? Sorry, Sean, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Oh, my father was 19.
That song, do you remember? No, 19.
Yep.
How can you possibly imagine, if you've got a young son or even a daughter going off to war at 18 or 19, they're still children.
Yeah.
I don't know how people got through the war, and Vietnam was the most horrendous of wars as well. There were thousands and thousands killed, all young men. It was a whole generation.
Yeah. And I do remember that after September 11th, my grandmother, I almost went back into the Army. I had been in the Army before the towers were hit. And my grandmother, God rest her soul, she's now passed away 8 years now. I said to her, I said, Mom, I think I'm going to go back into the Army. And she grabbed me by the shirt right here, and she said, I waited for your father. I waited for your grandfather. She goes, I'm not going to do it for you Kling boys. I can't do it again. She goes, 3 times is too much.
No,
so
I know. No, I mean, we aren't going to talk politics, and we should keep away from the current situations completely. But it's a worrying time, I think, for everyone.
And we can delve into a little bit into current events as well. I see the world as changing. I think the world in the United States changed in 2000 with what they called a hanging Chad on an election. And I think the world has gone nuts in the past 25 years. But then again, I was a child in the 80s. I was born in the 70s. So, I don't really have a recollection much of the 70s at all. In the 80s, I was a child. But, there's been political strife and turmoil as far back as man has been around. And, each generation faces their own. But I think we're at a cusp now where your father's generation, my grandfather's generation, if they were alive today, would look at what's going on and saying, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's here in the UK, I mean, we're in a terrible situation, both economically and politically. And people will disagree with me. This is only my opinion, of course. and I won't be held responsible for an opinion because everyone is entitled to it. But, I think they would all turn in their graves at the potential that the world has to implode. It's a very worrying time, and I don't know where is safe, to be honest.
And the United Kingdom is such a beautiful country. I mean, I was over there last year. The history alone, just the history in the United Kingdom. I'm not even talking about food or entertainment or anything like that, which we'll get into entertainment for a second because your mother was a window dresser, which is an interesting story. But
Yes.
the UK is so full of history that you can be just immersed in an entire lifetime of history. One of the really cool things is I left London and we were going to the Cliffs of Dover, and we went through this big empty field area, and the tour guide said they can never build houses here because these fields are full of bodies from the Black Plague or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's going back to the 16th century, the times around just, Henry VIII, Elizabeth I. That's when and the plague, obviously, in just before the Great Fire of London in 1666. So that's when, and you have these various points in history where the plague has arrived. It's almost as if it's a way of thinning down the population. I mean, it's a horrible thought when you put it that way. But I mean, England is an amazing place. I mean, the whole of the United Kingdom, and I've travelled around quite a bit of it. But the pageantry itself, I mean, just think back to when our lovely Queen died. I mean, the outpouring of thousands upon thousands of people. And she was so well loved. I mean, I'm a royalist, I suppose, as well. And I do like, King Charles. But to me, the Queen has always been Queen Elizabeth. She was there when I was born. And, she was so well loved, and she had the right, for her, it was all about her people and the country.
Yeah, in the United States, the outpouring was amazing, and we haven't had a queen in 200 or king or queen or any monarchy in 250 years, but
of course,
America is like the stepchild, I would say, of the United Kingdom. I mean, like that's where a majority of our original roots come from, is from
of course.
Britannia.
Well, the pageantry alone goes back centuries, and we've always had the whole history of England and the monarchy. Maybe not so much during the Civil War, but we've always had, and there was a civil war here, but there's always been this amazing pageantry, and people come here for the colour and the pomp and circumstance. And I remember going up as a child. My dad would take me to changing of the guard, and we'd go around. We couldn't go into Buckingham Palace then, but go around all the sites. And it's an amazing thing. Hopefully that will never change. And the weather's got better. We've got 29 degrees of sunshine here. It's about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. I know, it's so hot. It's really nice.
Well, two things I really enjoyed about my trip outside of the historical aspect, and I could talk to you for 4 hours about that, is I really enjoyed the pub culture. Now, I don't drink. It's just not, I don't have that issue of drinking problem or anything, but the pub culture in the United Kingdom is so different than anywhere else I've ever been. And I've traveled all around the world. I mean, you go out on these streets in London, and fans are out there watching a soccer game or a cricket game or whatever. And it just seems to be that is the social atmosphere of the people in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, we've really, it's always been like that. It's always been the small pubs, the closeness, and it's a community in itself. I mean, we've got a gastro pub practically opposite our house in the village I live in, and it's a way of everybody coming together. You know, people go there, they know everybody. We have a chat, we have something to eat. It's a real get together scenario, and it's, you know, I mean, my husband is a huge football fan. Well, any sport actually that involves a ball. He's been watching the golf at the moment, which I believe a Brit won. But he, you know, we love he loves the football. I'm more a tennis fan, but you know, there are pubs where they have huge screens on, and everybody goes there, and won't be tied to anyone who talks between everything, and it's a real everyone's supporting their team.
Yep.
But you're like that with baseball. I've been to San Diego. Is it the Padres in San Diego?
Yep, San Diego Padres.
Baseball?
Yes.
Yeah, I went to a baseball match. I've never seen so many people, and we were so high up. I mean, the players were about that big, but the atmosphere is also, you know, yeah, it's all about community, really.
Yeah,
a big community.
The sports speak that universal language that you can have. It doesn't matter the political side of things, or your race, or your background, or your religion.
Yeah.
If you have the same team, you're my brother in green, or you're my brother in blue, or you're my brother in red. You know.
I know, it surpasses that, doesn't it? And that's if only everything was like sport, you know. If only. But it's no, it's true. There's a commonality with people when they have this support of a team in any country, I think. You know, maybe more so football, but I suppose in your country it's American football, and here it's soccer, isn't it? You call it soccer.
Yeah, we call it soccer.
Yeah. So American football with you, and baseball, huge. The same as us here.
And one of the great other things about London that I liked, there were two things that I liked, was Savile Row. Now, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I am a big suit and dress shoes connoisseur.
Whoa.
And I had a pair of dress shoes made from Savile Row, which I won't tell you how much they cost me, but
I dread to think. But you didn't have a suit fitted.
I did have some shirts and stuff fitted. My suit was actually made from a New York tailor.
Right.
And the reason being is, living in Florida, my suit thickness would be a little bit different in the UK or New York because it gets colder.
Yeah.
Where in Florida, you want to have a lighter material because, you know, 50 degrees here Fahrenheit is considered cold.
Yeah. Okay. Well, our temperatures go quite low in the winter, but no, Savile Row is in the centre of London. It's one street, and some of these tailor shops go back centuries almost, and they're handed down by the generation, you know, really. And it's a very old-fashioned way of buying clothes when you go there, and it's all very bespoke and have please sit down, sir, and all this, you know, there's traditions by it, and really nice suit. So those shoes will last you.
Well, the shoes that I had made were the same company that made, well, he was then the Prince of Wales, but now he's the King, King Charles. Yes. They had a royal decree, and they have the charter to make his shoes. So I have the exact same pair of shoes that the King has made by these guys. Now, I'm sure the King has many, many more pair of shoes than I have. I have one. Yeah,
probably. You should put it in a glass cabinet, because I'd be scared to wear them in case you scuff or something.
I'll tell you what, though, they're the best fitting shoes I think I've ever had in my entire life.
And also, did you go to the shows, the West End shows, all the musicals?
No, but it's interesting that you bring that up, because we were going to talk about your mom a little bit. Your mom used to be your mother was a window dresser for the shows?
Yeah, but I should start off about my family history a little bit more.
Okay.
Because I told you, I think in our dress rehearsal, I mentioned that my mum's grandparents came over from Russia. They were kicked out of Russia in the pogroms, destined for New York. landed in Liverpool, which is in the northwest of England. My great-grandfather didn't want to stay there, and he went over to Dublin. And my grandmother and all her siblings were born there, but they came over here about just before, I believe, the First World War. But I didn't know this because I did a bit of delving into history, and I found out that my grandmother was a soprano and her sister played the piano. And they used to play and sing at all the black and white movies, in the cinema,
Okay.
in the movie theatres.
Like the silent movies?
Yeah, and they'd always have someone playing piano and singing. They were a duet. They were quite well known, so they used to do that. And then my mum unfortunately couldn't sing, but she was a very talented dressmaker and window dresser. And you have to go back probably to the 40s, 50s probably. And she worked freelance all over the West End of London, which is like your, I don't know, Fifth Avenue, I suppose, isn't it, in New York? See, my knowledge isn't too bad.
Like Broadway, almost.
Yeah, maybe. But she used to design all the big stores like Harrods and Selfridges, where it wasn't just the mannequins; they were whole big picturesque, pictorials in the windows. And she did all that. She also made our clothes. My sister and I were always dressed the same. So, and my poor sister, not only did she have the dress that I had, but when I grew out of mine, she had to wear it again. So I don't think she's ever forgiven me, actually. But we'll see.
So, and
then my daughter is a professional performer. She's a very talented singer, actress, and dancer. And she was recently, she did a tour of Greece. She was one of the main parts in Grease, the musical. And earlier this year, she was in War of the Worlds. Do you remember that?
H.G. Wells.
Well, it was originally H.G. Wells, but this is the musical version with Jeff Wayne. Okay. It was, so she was in that doing an arena tour, and very talented singer.
It sounds like artistry is big into your family with your grandparents, and then your mother and your daughter. Exactly. And yourself, and you're an author, which is also an art. It's today people use ChatGPT to cheat, but a real author can dig down deep in their soul and write something that no artificial intelligence can comprehend.
Yeah, I'm actually a very frustrated performer because I really wish I could sing. So my daughter doesn't get my singing talent, or my lack of. It must have skipped a generation or two. But I always used to dance. I was brought up dancing. I did ballet and tap and modern dance. So when she was 3, she went to ballet classes, and I always thought she'd come into my business, and it never happened. She was too focused on when I'm on the stage, not if I'm on the stage. So it's not changed, and she's 32. So yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your business. Now, what exactly do you do with your business?
I wonder. Well, I started off, I studied business and languages. I speak French and Spanish and a little bit of Italian, although I can understand it more rather than speak it. So I worked for an American engineering company when I first left college, stayed there for a short while. And after a couple of years, I ended up working at Levi Strauss in their main London head office. And I was in their legal department, and I was promoted to European Group Company Secretary or Corporate Secretary. So I had huge responsibility, but then they decided to close down Levi's, and I ended up working for a firm in London for 10 years, which was a multidiscipline firm. And I dealt with all the corporate stuff, quite a lot of intellectual property, a bit of antitrust, etc. And then I left there because I had my daughter, and so I've set up my own international business consultancy. My clients are basically all over the world. Hopefully some of them will actually listen to this as well. And they're really lovely clients, may I say. So a lot of them I've been acting for because they moved from the company I was with for 10 years and came with me. And a lot of them become very close friends, very much integrated into my family. Family in particular originally was from Pakistan, and he was uncle to my daughter, and I was legal guardian to his son, who's now one of the top lawyers in Pakistan, and he lives in Dubai. Very close family connection. And there's other clients similar to that I've been acting for 40 years and now looking after their children, which makes me feel really old, but I started at 5. So that's my story. But yeah, I mean, got some great clients, lovely work, very happy with the way things are going. I've kept it very niche, very boutique. I don't advertise as much. It's all referral. So yeah, I'm very happy with what I'm doing. And a few years ago, during COVID, I set up another company called the Mission Link. I don't know if you've looked at that yet, Sean, but you can have a look. This was set up to focusing on female entrepreneurs.
Okay.
The idea was that, and this may sound the reverse of misogyny, I don't know what you call it when it's women, but I found from speaking to friends, from looking at everything on LinkedIn, which is how we met, on various Facebook, that people were homeschooling their children for 2 years, basically during the first initial period of COVID. The women were working, they were homeschooling, and sorry, all the men who are watching this, but you know it's true. And the women were still looking after the house. And I thought, and then a lot of the women said, well, they just gave up their jobs because they couldn't do everything. You know, Wonder Woman does exist, but even for some people, it's not possible. And I thought, what are these women going to do after COVID? And again, I sort of did some research, and a lot of these women who had really nice jobs, really good jobs, were lost. And then they said, well, you know, they were reaching out and saying, well, you know, supposing I set up my own business, I can't literally go back to work. What do you think? So I set up this Mission Link with 5 mission statements to help women who wanted to get back into the workplace, who had decided that they were worth more than staying at home and just homeschooling, doing the housework, trying to fit in everything. And again, I apologize to men. But you know, and I was helping them. And I think, you know, that's been very successful as well. There's a great website. You should have a look. You may not be able to get into it.
We'll leave a link for it. We'll leave a link for it in the description.
Yeah, please do. Yes.
For people to go check it out. And this is for women around the world. This isn't just women in the UK. This could be.
Oh, no. This is everybody who wants to, you know, there's some very good, because I wrote them, I'm doing that. I did write them. There's some very good articles that I've written about situations that I've been in my working life, coming across men, because I've had to compete in a man's world, and I think it still happens. So, but lots of stories from my experience, lots of ideas to get going, how to write a business plan, how to deal with funding issues, how to go with, you know, advertising their business, marketing it. So there's lots of ideas on there for women who want to do well in business. It's a way of me giving something back, you see, learn from my experience. So.
And you just signed a book deal?
I did. I'm so excited. It's with amazing, fairly new publishing house called Vinci Books. But all the directors and most of the staff who come from some of the really big publishing houses came together to provide something a bit different, which I like, because one of the directors, Jane Harris, I met with her recently, and my agent Tony Mulligan, and we had the most amazing lunch in London, and it was the way that she likes to nurture authors. I mean, I'm not a new author. My first 2 books I self-published, and they did very well. But I've decided that it needed a bit of an impetus, so that's why they're taking over these 2 books as well. The third one is going to be out soon after. But the publishing house, I really like them. They're people that I can talk to. I know I'm not going to get lost like some of the big houses. I'm not going to get lost in there. They're going to help me, and I'm willing to to work for them, because I love all the PR side. I love the marketing side. I love giving talks to encourage other people to write and to really, use my experiences. Listen, there's lots of women doing this. There's lots of men doing this. Some of the things I say people may not agree with, but it's really just taking advantage if you can. If I can help somebody, then I will. So why not?
What are, without giving away too much, because I know that you're probably still working on some stuff, but like, what are the topics of the books, or can you tell us that, or you don't have to give us a name or anything?
I thought you'd never ask. So the first book my first series is a Cydney Granger series. She's a corporate forensics expert. And everyone says, well, who's she really about? Well, it could be me. People make up their own mind who know me, but there's a lot of me in there, a lot of stories. So the first book is called The Shadows Behind Her Smile. And Cydney is investigating a couple of cases. So the first is in an South African guy who wants to buy this portfolio of properties from some Americans who got it by fraudulent means and insider dealing. So it's all about their interaction. And she's also trying to put right someone who fraudulently copied this man's will so that he bypasses all his family. So she's got these quite high morals. She's trying to help people. And her husband is missing in action. He's ex-SAS, special forces, and he was undercover in Syria, or allegedly Afghanistan, and he was missing in action. So it's all about that and how she gets past it, and some of her life experiences with her mum, who has Alzheimer's, and I also experienced that with my own mum. So I'm writing about a lot of life experiences. The second book, Where in the Dark, is the Holocaust one that I talked about previously. And again, it's the interaction. Is her husband dead? Does he come back from the dead? Will we find out? And again, this time she's investigating this Nazi, as I mentioned. The third one is called A Thousand Silent Cries. Again, Cydney. Again, with her husband, or not with her husband. I don't want to give the game away. But this time it's IRA. And she's asked to help a friend of hers whose husband is a top QC at the time, which is Queen's Counsel. Of course, now it's King's Counsel. So he's a top barrister. And he was put into a witness protection program because he saw his parents killed. And then you go forward to this ex-IRA who's managed to find him. And it's all about, who will win, really, to overcome all of this. and it's delving into the IRA. I don't choose easy subjects, you know.
Right.
And so those books hopefully are coming out of an ebook in September. And then I started a new series about a female sort of James Bond. So she's ex-Special Forces, and she's got involved with a Russian oligarch who's just invested into a place that's in a scientific technology with nuclear fusion. Now, do you know anything about nuclear fusion? Because I didn't. But it's all about using basically it's reverse nuclear. God, I can't think of the word.
Like splitting atoms and stuff like that?
Yeah, but it's the reverse of splitting atoms. So it's bringing atoms together to create a means of power from the sun. And it's actually being done. It's being done at the moment between the Americans, the Canadians, French, China, and Britain. And it's actually going to happen. I mean, it may not happen for 40, 50 years, maybe certainly not in our time, but because the expense of setting it all up. But if used rightly, it will change the way that we use power, because what happens, the power is, it forms a sort of power that can you can use within houses, within every sort of thing, cars, electric cars. It produces this energy. However, it's expensive. At the moment, I think they've just managed to do that with an electric puff, literally. So it's a long way ahead, but it's the future. And she's got involved in this, and there's a bit of murder, and she lost her husband, who was also in the Special Forces with her. So it's all about her life as well, using life experiences. So, yeah, I don't choose easy subjects.
No, really. You don't.
No.
Isn't there a thing for the fusion? And I want to say it's in Europe, maybe it's in Switzerland, that it's like a big tube under the ground that goes in a circle, and they try to make things go real fast, and that's how they try to
I
atoms
think,
or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know too much about that. I only know, so they've got these machines that they built, which are only sort of trial size, which build up the energy from the sun. And we do have a place here in Oxford, which is not far from where I live, really. And I've asked if I can go around there and see it. But it's a massive machine that tries to do it. And there's scientists from all over the world trying to see who can get there first.
So where do you get your inspiration for all your characters? I mean, I know you said in your one book is kind of a little bit based off of you, but like, how do you come up with the inspiration for your characters? Do you look at historical people? Do you just try to mold people together, or is it just stuff off the top of your head?
Do you know, I wish I could answer you. I just I don't plan my writing at all. I know some people, they get these cards and they write notes and they plan each chapter out. I literally just sit down and write, and whatever comes to me. I don't know if that's good or bad, because I then realize as I go later on, I have to move chapters around and things. But the characters sort of evolve themselves. You know, all of a sudden I find a character that I really like. I think, oh, I must use him. I've got an ex-policeman in book 3 called Briggs Snaith. I mean, what an amazing name.
Right.
And he's left the police force. He's now working as a private investigator. Well, I mean, there's somewhere to go on that just for the name alone, isn't there?
Yep.
You know, I mean, I just love his character. So he will evolve. I'll go back to the Cydney series at some stage, because I don't think that's finished yet. And in fact, I did have a treatment written up to make it into a series, a TV series or Netflix series. So I'm going to be working on that as well. You just never know. If you throw enough at a wall, it will stick.
Well, where do you come up with the character names, though? Because I've heard that, like, when Shakespeare wrote his stuff, he went to a cemetery and he would see the names on a cemetery of headstone, and that's the names he would come up with. Do you do kind of the same, or?
No, I just come up with names. I mean, there's, some names I'll think of friends that I was at school with. And I thought, but the people aren't like them necessarily. I can't answer you. I mean, my sidekick to Cydney is a guy called Sean. So
good name. It's a good
name. Very good name. Yeah. But he's Irish. So, originally from the old country in Southern Ireland. So, so I've used a bit of him for that. I just think it just evolves. I can't even give you an answer to that. I don't think, I need some new names for my characters. No, it just happens.
So
and Cydney, sorry, I was just saying Cydney can be a male or female, and she's quite a strong character. So I wanted that again. I don't know, but if it ever comes to TV, it's going to be called Granger, the series on Netflix. So you just never know.
So most of your characters, your main characters, seem to be like a strong female character then.
I know. Who'd have thought? You write what you know. Isn't it easier to write about someone that I know so well myself?
Yeah, it
and
is.
In fact, I just recalled, actually, I started writing because, when our father died, we didn't know much about him at all. And I did some research. But of course, my sister and two younger brothers couldn't remember much. And I decided to write a memoir, all the different stories about him. And I started writing, and it wasn't coming to so many words. And then I said to my husband, this would be great to turn it around into a novel, to use some of the experiences and put them into a story, but where I would also have some literary license to let the characters go where they want. And they do evolve in the book. How Cydney started off at the beginning, grieving her father, grieving the fact her mum had Alzheimer's and all these things. She comes out of it at the end. And I was able to use my experience of the feelings I had as it went on. And I was such a young girl when he passed away. I remember a lot about him, but not everything. And I think also, it was important that my younger brother was only a year old when our dad died. Unfortunately, this particular brother passed away 4 years ago, lost him very suddenly. But he didn't know anything about our dad and his story, or any little things. What was he like? What did he like doing? So I think everybody goes through grief in their lives. Everybody has losses, but that makes you a stronger person. And if you can use that strength to demonstrate to readers of your novels, put it into a form that they can understand and it can help them, then I'm doing the right thing, I think.
Do you think that some of your characters also have a little bit of maybe your dad in them and your mom in them and your siblings, your children?
Absolutely. Well, I think that, that Cydney has twin children of 14. Well, her daughter Lauren is probably based on my own daughter, because I know what she was like at 14. Very, come on, Mum, let's do this together. And, can we go here? Can we go there? Will you allow me to do this? You know what children are like.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I have two
girls yourself. Yeah. Exactly. So, and thankfully, my daughter and I are very close. We've always had that real close friendship, this absolute love. And which not everybody has, but we have. And I've used things that I know, circumstances that I've been in. And the other thing about Cydney is that she has this wonderful gift that, think John Grisham meets Sixth Sense. She has this sixth sense. She's able to communicate with people who help her solve her crimes.
Oh, okay. That's a nice little twist.
Wow, wouldn't it be good if you could, if you could be sitting there and someone's telling you in your ear what the person opposite you is thinking? How wonderful is that? So you're ahead of the game all the time.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So where can people find you on the internet and get these books when they come out, or ones that you've already written? Where's some good places that we can go? Like some of these stories here now, I want to go out and buy some of these books because I love that type of genre. So you've got me sold, and I would love to just read these. But if I'm like one of the listeners or one of the fans, where can I go to find you or find your books?
Well, I have a website, which is www.KarenMillie-James.com. I have, obviously I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, again, where we found each other. Yeah. I'm on TikTok and I'm on Instagram. Okay. They are quite new to me, the last two. Because I'm getting with it, apparently. So yeah, but I do, there's a lot of PR going to be happening. I'm going to be doing lots of talks. The last books when I was doing it, I did a BBC radio tour. I was out signing. I did some crime festivals, and hopefully I'm going to be coming over to New York. I'm going to be at the Sharjah Book Fair again in Sharjah, which is in the UAE. It's the next Emirati to Dubai. There's a New York one, as I said. There's a few around Great Britain. So I'm going to be very, very much out there, hopefully doing more interviews, hopefully doing my own podcast. You'll have to come on my show.
Oh, I'd love to be a guest. I'd love to be a guest. I'm a fan now. I'm a fan now just based off of the books you've told me about. Like I want to read these. I want to see this stuff on the screen. And if I had a motion picture studio or a studio, I'd be talking to you about producing some of this stuff.
Oh, well, you never know. Someone might be listening.
Yeah, you never know.
I've got some great ideas coming up. I've got a great idea for a new book, not a series this time, which will be great as a play. I do want to write my dad's story because, again, we spoke about that.
Yep.
And I think a sort of, I don't know what you call it, that you write the story, but in between that you put actual copies of letters that he wrote to various people to try and find out information. So I want to do that sort of thing. There was a film about it, different letters going backwards and forwards. I can't remember. Was it Anthony Hopkins in it? Anyway, can't remember. But I think that'd be a really good book as well. That's my intention, all this. But you just need to Google me. My books are on Amazon in all the various countries. They're going to be translated into different languages as well, which would be really good. But wait, the current ones, I've re-edited books 1 and 2. They'll be coming out very soon in the next few weeks. And very excited about it. I love the PR side.
Karen, it's your story is so inspirational. And, just in talking to you today, I feel like I've been sitting here having a cup of coffee or tea, as you guys have over there, and talking to a friend. I think one of the most inspirational things that I can't get out of my mind about you and your family is I have this vision of a 12-year-old boy boarding a boat, not knowing where he's going to go.
I
And
know.
a generation later, his daughter is a successful author. His granddaughter is performing for
Yeah.
thousands and hundreds of thousands of people around the world. And this all stemmed from a little boy that was
Yeah.
saved to escape persecution for who he
Yeah.
was. And you know, it's
His
amazing.
beliefs.
It's an
Yeah.
amazing story that you have.
Yeah. It's all about survival, isn't it?
It is. It is.
You know, and we had nothing growing up, absolutely nothing. When my dad died, we had no money. I've done all this myself from nothing, and it's I didn't know where I was going to end up. I always, I met a friend recently I was at school with, and he had no idea what I'd been through at that age, because it wasn't really talked about, I don't think, even at 12 and 13, and he said, well, if I'd known, maybe we would have helped you a bit. But it's all about survival, coming through things and not being told that you can't do something. I think I always said to my daughter, no matter how much I teach you, it's not about that. It's all about striving to be the best you possibly can. And it doesn't matter if you're not academic or not. It doesn't matter if you don't become a nuclear scientist and you might end up stacking shelves in Walmart or something. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you've done your best and that you're proud of who you are. And it's the way that you are towards other people. That's the important thing in life. If I firmly believe that. I think it's definitely the do unto others. And I'm not a particularly religious person. I'm very traditional. But I think a little kindness goes a long way to everybody. But it's believing in yourself, believing in your abilities, and don't let anybody put you down, because it's their problem. It's not your problem.
And Karen, if you had one message to give to your fans, what would that be?
Oh, now you put me on the spot, Sean. What is it? Read my books, enjoy my books, and take something from it. Because if you can, that's the whole purpose of it. And if it can filter into your own lives, just take a message from it. And if it helps, then I've done what I set out to do. I don't think my books are just a normal story. It's not just an adventure. There's always a message behind it. And I think that's probably where I wanted to be. Yeah.
Karen Millie-James, story of extraordinary overcoming extraordinary things, a family that has overcome extraordinary things, to live, to touch so many lives, but with your books, with your daughter's acting, with your mother doing window dressing, everything. You guys have touched lives. I'm glad to have you on the show today. I really want to thank you for being our guest and just sharing this extraordinary adventure and story about your books and your family.
I've really enjoyed it. I have to say, Sean, that I've had many interviews and you are really top of the class on that. I felt so comfortable talking to you. It's just like having a conversation with your friend. And I hope we get to do this again.
Well, when you get to Florida or I get to UK, we're going to definitely meet up and we'll have a cup of tea or a coffee or something like that.
Absolutely. And I'll have you on my podcast soon.
Oh, thank you. So if you like what you heard, make sure to like, share, and subscribe and click that notification bell. We're on YouTube, we're on Rumble, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple, we're on Amazon. We're also on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and pretty much any other social media platform you can think of. So until next time, have fun storming the castle.